Hello everybody, my name is Philip and welcome back to another installment of Phasing Forward. Recording this one early, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be coming out early. Who knows, maybe I'm recording this early but it'll come out fucking on Thursday, who knows. But either way, welcome to another edition of Phasing Forward. And this time around, I am joined once again by a guest. This time around, a guest who may very well be sticking around for the entirety of Falcon and Winter Soldier. Introduce yourself, madame.
Hello, I am Michelle, also known as Chiaki, to those of you who are more familiar with the Bun Squad. So, yes, Pink Hair has decided to bring me in to talk about this TV show that apparently is quite popular right now, so...
Yes, we are continuing our journey throughout Falcon and the Winter Soldier. If you missed the last episode, where I covered episodes 1 and 2, where I covered it with Casey, who is Kana from the Bun Squad, and if you're wondering where is Zen, essentially Zen's laptop is currently being repaired. At least we think it's being repaired. For all we know, they still haven't started it. So yeah, that's why she hasn't been joining me for the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, because she just hasn't been able to record anything, which has been really it's been a real pain in the ass when it comes to the Bun Squad. So, yeah, but at the very least, this gives us time to plan out stuff after the Danganronpa review, so, fingers crossed. But yeah, because of that, now Michelle is joining me for episode 3 of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Before we jump into episode 3, though, very quickly, because I don't want to stretch this out too long, what did you think of episodes 1 and 2 of the show so far?
Episode 1, I will give you the review I gave my friend, which was... nice set pieces, interesting character stuff, slow burn, which I think I like. Yeah, I liked it. I like the fact it was separate. I didn't mind the extreme close-ups because I got that it was supposed to be uncomfortable.
Yeah, I can tell you watched. I can tell you listened to the last episode. Yeah, with me and Casey. Yeah, I understand where Casey was coming from with that. It's just that it's a very it's a little cinematography thing I picked up not right away, but as it was going on, I was like, oh yeah, this is a very awkward, uncomfortable situation. So they're zooming into their faces. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I like how much of a slow burn and build up of the characters the first episode was. I saw some people saying on Twitter that the fact that Falcon and Bucky weren't actually interacting throughout the episode, and they didn't interact till the second episode, was kind of a turn off. Honestly, I like that. I like just seeing their two separate lives, individually before we get the two of them together. I actually thought that was a really good thing about the first episode. So, yeah.
Outside the Avengers and Steve, what do they actually have in common?
Yeah, that's also the thing. It's because we've barely seen these two characters individually up until now, which I think for Sam has worked fine because he's always been kind of a supporting character, whereas for Bucky, I always thought it was kind of a problem because he's someone who Steve shares a close connection with, and yet we rarely see him. I feel like the big culprit in that is that he died way too soon in the first Avenger. I always thought that was kind of an off thing. He should have died at the very end of the movie. Died, quote unquote.
Yeah.
But yeah, what do you think of episode 2?
I liked it. I've been asleep badly since then, so give me a second to remind myself. I liked, like everyone else has said, I like the fact they opened with Walker and actually humanized him first. So I was like, oh, okay, so he's just a dude. My skeptic beam is still a little bit okay, but yeah, and everything I've heard about, in the comics, what happens to him is alright, cautiously optimistic.
Yeah, I was ready to say he's not as bad as the comics, and granted, so far he's not. Even with what happens in this episode, it's just that because in the comics he's full on just conservative Captain America, and I'm just
yeah, the whole trying too hard to be friends, because you have the scene on the plane where Sam calls James Buck. He's like, you don't call me that, and then without even asking permission, John keeps calling James Bucky. Like, hey Bucky, like you don't have permission to do that.
Then again, I think I think it's Buck specifically because I think like Bucky is what like a lot is what everyone calls him, whereas Buck specifically is what Steve called him. So like I think that's what he responded to, because a lot of people are calling him. A lot of people have called him Bucky. Bucky. I think it's just Buck specifically.
That's fair enough, but it just for me it kind of like, because we already had that scene where like, you don't call me that nickname, and then someone who he hasn't even met started on the nickname. It's like, I do see the difference between the two nicknames, but for me in that moment it kind of like didn't sit right.
Yeah, I hear you.
It's like this guy is a fucking World War II vet. Show him some fucking respect.
Yeah, agreed.
And like, I don't know if he's had like, outside of Hydra using him, I don't know if he's had any sort of modern war training, but okay, so that's the thing. I don't know if this is more of an episode 2 or an episode 3 thing or just a general thing, but I will say that Bucky's training originally from the 40s comparative to what both Sam and John and I keep forgetting his name.
Is it
John Psychic?
John Psychic, Battlestar?
Yeah. They would have had different training, kind of because of the different technologies and techniques and stuff. But also, generally speaking, World War II is considered the last just war. Everything else, and I'm not saying that World War II didn't have elements of turf war, but everything else is just a turf war.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the politics of it is just, oil or something else. And it's always... Whereas... I don't want to romanticize World War II, but it is the last one where you can sort of see everyone's point, and it is a bit more black and white, where everything since then has been pretty much grey. If that sounds like a fair assessment. I'd say that kind of does, because like with World War II it was very like black and white, whereas there's been a ton of wars like ever since then have just been like, very muddy, very grey. But with World War II it's very it's I agree with that assessment. I guess with Bucky as the Winter Soldier, it is also a case of like, was he a pawn in those grey wars, or is he just an assassin for hire for certain political enemies? I'm always a bit grey on what the actual Winter Soldier actually was doing.
Yeah, I think Hydra had lended Bucky out to like a bunch of political people to let them use him however they want. Especially if like what episode 3 shows us with that. So especially if like that has anything like that shows us anything about people who know the Winter Soldier.
Well, fair enough.
But with that being said, before I give my opinions on episode 3, just going into that right now, what did you think of episode 3 of Falcon and the Winter Soldier?
Well, I double checked when it was playing, because again this came up last week. According to UK Disney Plus, it counts as a 12+. So I think that's the highest any MCU movie's gotten as well, isn't it? It's like a 12, 13, PG-13, whatever the various ratings are around the world.
Okay.
But they were invoking John Wick a lot.
Yeah, I could tell the similarities. I haven't seen all of John Wick, but like I could definitely tell the similarities.
It's so good. Parabellum is amazing. Excuse me.
It's
having bacon and I got a stringy bit.
It's yeah, what were you gonna say?
No, it is good. I enjoyed it. Very stylish. I know we'll probably get on Sharon properly in a minute, but I think I need to rewatch Civil War, because with WandaVision, it kept recommending, hey, you want to watch Age of Ultron? So yeah, maybe I'll rewatch it another day, but I don't need it for this one. There is so much I've apparently forgotten. Like, when did they steal the shield? I can't remember how. I think maybe did I watch it? Was in
Civil War what happened? Twice. In Civil War, what happened? It was it was when Sam and Steve were like going after Bucky. the first time, and Steve was like, it was right after the UN bombing, and they were going after Bucky, and then War Machine comes in, and all the governments that people come in, and they arrest, and because Cap and Sam were going against the Accords, they took away the shield and Sam's wings, and then Bucky escaped the facility because of Zemo, and Sharon stole the shield and Sam's wings back for them. So that's what happened there.
Right, it's been a while.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah,
Fair enough. Yeah, cool. And then there's something, and I was going to double check this today, but obviously we had to change the recording time. I don't know if this is a continuity error or just saying this thinking me. Now, I'm pretty sure in Infinity War, Thanos said he's going to just reduce half the population of the dominant species or the people. And then in Endgame, they talk about the animals being halved as well. Is that me misremembering, or is there an actual continuity error there? Because I know Casey brought it up, it's like, well, that still would cause a food shortage.
I don't think there's a continuity error there. Because I haven't heard about it too much myself, like from people. I'm pretty sure the Marvel fandom would be like really complaining about it if there was like a big continuity thing there, but yeah,
that's what I thought. Maybe it's just the way I'm interpreting it, but it seemed like they're putting more emphasis on Endgame about half of all living creatures, like, because you have the moment with Ant-Man looking at all the birds outside and saying, hey, I think it works. It's like not a good plan, Grimace, if you're reducing half the population but also taking away half the food supply as well. How have you solved anything?
Yeah, it's Thanos' big fucking Messiah thing going on with him, where it's like he's planned it like, okay, because everyone says like, oh, Thanos has a point, and I'm like, yes, in a vacuum he has a point, but the thing is, okay, he has a point until he starts saying, oh, genocide is our solution. Because why isn't the solution just, oh, let's, there's too many mouths, not enough to go around. Let's expand resources. Let's make it so there is enough to go around. But he doesn't do that.
Yeah.
And it's not like, it's not because of a bad plot reason. It's because, no, Thanos has this weird Messiah complex where he thinks he's the one who's going to save everyone by making the hard choices, when in reality he's just insane. So, yeah.
The other point that's come up a couple times is regarding the Flag Smashers, who I don't entirely hate. Again, I think they're going to be a morally grey group. But they, in the episode 2, you had the line about like, oh, so everyone came back and now this whole commission's and like we're all being forgotten about. And someone actually commented, yes, a commission set up to help people that came back is helping people that came back. What do you think it was there for? It is again. I don't know if this is like a weird continuity thing or because like the order things were written in, but my impression from Far From Home was that the people that got dusted were displaced. There was a line about when Aunt May came back, the people living in her apartment thought that she was the mistress or something. In hiding. Like, so she lost her home, and that was the entire point of her charity drive, was that people are still homeless, and this takes place, as far as I can work out from the timeline, Far From Home definitely takes place after the events in Falcon, yes?
Yeah, because Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I believe timeline-wise, this is 6 months, Far From Home's 8 months, so there's like at least 2 months difference between the two.
Yeah, again, I was going to double check because the kids mentioned like at the beginning of the thing, like, so that would give me a more accurate date, but at least 8 months to a year after the blip.
Yeah.
Which is fair enough. I also have other questions about that, like when Flash is trying to get alcohol. I'm like, yeah, okay, maybe on paper his passport does say he's like, would it be 21, 22, whatever, so fair enough. But he's on a high school trip. Think about it for a second, stewardess.
Yeah.
And also, are they now going to have to put like little markers on people's, especially, maybe it doesn't really affect adults so much, but like for the younger generations who got blipped, are they going to have to put little markers saying, yeah, they're not legal age yet, even though it says so on paper? It's like, this infrastructure things.
There's a lot of shit that's just fucked after the blip. It's like you know, if I get like, because I get there wasn't like much room to think about this, because it's like, you know, okay, you got the stones, let's just reverse this. But it's like, I have the feeling where it's like, you know, why didn't Professor Hulk use his might to, like, you know, reverse time or some shit like that?
Because Tony told him not to, because he didn't want Morgan to go.
Oh, that's right. I'm an idiot. Yeah, that's because like he's like, yeah, everything stays that happened, but you know, no, that makes sense. Yeah, but yeah, I've really, yeah, I in terms of like going back to like episode 3 itself, really liked the episode overall. It's probably the weakest one so far, if only because it's very much of like an info dump episode where there's a lot of stuff we just gotta get out. Also, I just want to put my hands up right now and say, I'm an idiot for forgetting about the power broker last episode. I even put like I even like went back and put a comment, and it's like, let's pretend like I didn't forget about the power broker. All right, let's yeah, because I was like
wondering about that. I was like, you forgot something.
Yeah, because I'm like, yeah, because I was like, oh, what if John Walker was the one who was messaging her? Which, to be fair, like he was like making like a big stink about like finding Carly in this episode. But even still, it's like nah, it's the power broker who's messaging her. It's not John Walker. I mean, if I low key call that and it comes up later in the series, then I'm gonna take ownership of that, but nah, it's the power broker. I'm sorry, I completely forgot the power broker was even a character.
Herperderp.
But no, the flag. Yeah. Actually, let's start off with the flag smashers because they're we did actually get like more of like sympathetic moments of them in this episode. Which, you know, and I haven't really like, because last episode I didn't really have much to say about the flag smashers yet, because we just needed to see more of them. It's like very much because their whole philosophy of things were much better like during the blip. It's like right at face value, like, nah, that doesn't sound right. Things were much better in the blip, like when everyone was like grieving and half the population was lost.
Yeah, are you telling me every single member of the flag smashers didn't lose somebody? Like they were the lucky ones? Yeah,
it's like, I feel like, because at face value, it's just like, you know, bullshit, things were better than the blip. These, like, episode 2 and especially episode 3, like, show more why they believe it, even though it's, like, still not really the case. It's like, no, like, you can't really say things were better, you know, during the blip. You know, things are still muddy now, but it's still a good thing that people were brought back, you know? So... Yeah, and I do like... And I do like they show that, you know, the flag smashers aren't, or at the very least, Carly isn't 100% like, you know, loyal to her cause. Or no, not that she's not loyal to her cause, but more that she's taking her cause too far, you know, with letting that building explode with the guys inside there, saying like, you know, this is the only language that they speak, you know. So it's very clear that, like, you know, while a lot of the flag smashers, you know, while they all have, you know, reasons for thinking the way they do about things being better during the blip, I'm thinking that these are probably people who, like, you know, overall didn't have it as hard as most people in the world during the blip, potentially. So that's why. Yeah. So that's why they are taking the stance they are currently. And while a lot of them don't, like, you know, believe that, you know, while all of them are true. While all of them are pretty much true to their cause. You know, it's Carly herself is in particular seems to be very, like, you know, I hate to use the term radical, but I guess radical for lack of a better term about it. So
I just had a thought which may not even be completely it, but, and apologies and trigger warnings, because what I'm about to say could be upsetting to some people, but it is just a theory in my head that I just thought of.
Yeah, trigger. What's the trigger warning of? Just say it up front.
Abuse.
Abuse. Okay. Skip to this moment right here on. I'll add a timestamp. Skip to this moment if viewers at home don't want to hear discussion of this.
What if the person Carly lost was her abuser? What if she was in a bad situation? And then when everyone came back...
That could be interesting. I'm not sure that's exactly where this is going to go, but that would be interesting and very sad if that was the case. That, like, you know, for 5 years she was freed from, like, this abusive person in her life, and then all of a sudden they're back. You know, that would be a very interesting point. That would be a very interesting thing for them to tackle. I don't think that's where they're going to go with it, but that would be very interesting.
I don't think they will either, but it's a thought that came into my head. It's like, oh, what if her situation was actually worse prior to the blip? Prior to the snap? It was like, what if... Yeah. So, again, it's a theory that just came into my head, and also accepting the fact that abuse could just be anything from verbal to full-on sexual...
Yeah.
You know, ungood stuff. Yeah, it would explain why she's a bit more... I preferred it when everyone was gone. Again, just my theory, just an idea that was in my head that literally came to me and probably won't come to pass. As long as
you know, as long as you don't go on Twitter after it's confirmed false and be like 0 out of 10, this show sucks now because my theory wasn't confirmed. Then you're all good, Michelle.
She was being domestically abused by Mephisto. There you go.
Yeah, there. That'll get some clicks. She's related to Mephisto, and Mephisto's behind it all. Yada yada. Oh God.
Please don't take my giggling as me taking any kind of domestic abuse as light. He just made me laugh.
Yeah. No. Speaking of which, welcome back from the trigger warning, everyone. Moving on from the flag smashers, because at this point we're still at the point where I feel like thematically, because it usually takes a while in a lot of shows for like thematically a lot of plot points to like converge with each other. A lot have already done so here, but I feel like the flag smashers need to be like converged a little bit more. I feel like, you know, a lot of people could probably like, you know, make that connection, you know, right now, but you know, again, this episode is very info dumpy, so moving on to more earlier in the episode, now that we got the flag smashers out of the way, because the flag smashers are more, you know, more of a B plot within this episode specifically. And what else is a B plot who we don't really see much of in this episode that I think we'll see more in the upcoming episodes? John Walker, who actually opens the episode. John Walker has that moment where he basically raids the where the flag smashers were staying, and like we see point blank that he's acting very not Captain America, you know?
Yeah. Do you know who I am? Do you know who I am? This is not a game of who the fuck are you?
I just love, like, the guy who's just like, yes, I do, and I don't care. Because, like, yeah, and it's like, and just, like, seeing John Walker, like, you know, lose his cool just that easily, just, like, showing that he has the credentials, maybe, to, like, to pull it off, or be convincing from the government, like, be convincing to the government, but he doesn't have the heart, doesn't have the spirit that Steve did to take up the mantle. So yeah.
See, this is the other thing. Obviously they don't have the original guys, I forgot his name now, the serum, because it's the whole thing of like reproducing the serum has been the thing since First Avenger.
Yeah.
But Steve was picked because he couldn't become a soldier, because he was, you know, just this little weakling that couldn't do any of the stuff, whereas John was picked because he was an Ubermensch.
Yeah, it's very much like before Steve took the super soldier serum. How I forget his name too, but the scientist was basically like how he was basically like, whatever happens tomorrow, you promise that you will stay a good man. You know, just tapping the heart, and it's like it's very much that where it's. You know, Tony made the comment in the first Avengers where it's like, everything special about you came out of a bottle. Only that's not the case, because what makes Captain America isn't just the super soldier serum, but it's also the heart. It's the heart and, you know, the compassion, the, like, you know, it sounds cliche, but like the righteousness of Captain America. And John Walker may have those, you know, specific credentials to pass as Captain America, but he doesn't have the heart, which is very much shown in the first clip of this episode. So yeah, I really like the opening.
And also, didn't they, like, he and Bucky not have like the best upbringing? Like, they were talking about putting newspaper in their shoes and that because they would have come out of the depression. Like, I don't know Steve's full family history, but yeah, he doesn't come from privilege either.
Yeah. It's...
I'm not saying that Walker necessarily does come from privilege, but he went to a fancy high school at least.
Yeah, he went to a fancy high school, you know, where they can go back years later. 3 medals of honor, you know, it's...
Yeah.
But yeah,
I don't want to not like John, but he's very much a
Yeah, I feel like that first scene of episode 2 where we see him like backstage is like, I feel like as if they didn't have that there and they had that like, you know, too late into this series. I feel like by that point, like we all we would have seen from John Walker is, you know, this government stooge who's like, you know, who behind the scenes is actually like, you know, this, you know, I don't give a fuck about anything, but like we clearly, I feel like the whole point behind that first scene was just to clearly show like, you know, no, this is someone who's clearly trying, but it's just, you know, right off the bat, just he doesn't have the heart and the spirit, and that's, you know, don't know if that's his fault or not, whether that's his fault or not, you know, it's clearly, you know, this is a large responsibility just being stapled on him by the government without them even checking, like, you know, if he had the right credentials beyond the credentials himself, like the military credentials. Yeah. I feel like that's one of the big reasons why Steve specifically chose Sam, because, you know, he knows how much of a good heart Sam has, and it's like, you know, and John isn't like purposely, you know, being this shitheel. It's just that, you know, I mean, that doesn't stop the fact that he is a shitheel, but, you know, I do like the fact that, you know, we do see he's not just this maniacal villain. No, he is someone who's trying, but is just too much of a dickhead.
Yeah. I think his, hopefully, Battlestar,
Battlestar seems to be like someone who by the end will like turn against John. Like when John goes off the deep end, it seems like Battlestar will be like, nah, I'm sorry, John. You do you, mate. I'm your close friend, but like this is too much for me.
The other thing, because we start with that GRC commercial, which is all obviously happy, lovely, and all this stuff. And then we immediately smash cut to John and Dick doing the raid, and then say, "Oh, you Americans always take things too far. You're too brutal and all that." It's like, yeah, I mean, you want to think that the GRC is truly a global commission and they are coordinating, and maybe they're using some of the stuff that was already in existence during the blip, but. Yeah, because Jessie Gender in her review pointed out that I don't think John works for the military anymore, because obviously the military funds these films. So yeah, he's now on a side mission. That is like, I can understand from the point of view of the super soldier serum, which they weren't even sure was real in episode 2, but the way they're coming down hard on the Flag Smashers seems like maybe a bit too hard. They are, and I'm not being a terrorist apologist, of course not, because any act of terrorism is bad. However, prior to the building blowing up in this episode, hasn't they just been like raiding?
Yeah, it's up until now they have really just been raiding, which, you know, it's. You know, when you're out there, like, and like, you know, it's, and look, but we see in this episode even that, like, you know, they had like all these supplies and just not using them for like 6 months. So like the people who they're stealing from, like a lot of the people who they're stealing from do seem to be like crooked, shitty people. But you know, but at the same time, it seems like Carly specifically also is the one who's taking it so far and like blowing up buildings and shit like that, which is also why the other I forget his name, but the other Flag Smasher member was like, Carly, what the fuck you doing? It's like, so yeah, it does seem like the government's coming maybe a little too hard down on them. Maybe the Flag Smashers could also, like, you know, it seems like they've hardly made an attempt to, you know, raise, like, you know, objections to this, like, vocally. Although again, that may be something that we just haven't seen. Like on screen, so you know, they should very much, you know, clarify on that in the future, going forward. But you know, it definitely does seem that they're coming down a little too hard on the Flag Smashers. Although, especially given Carly's actions, we can definitely tell, you know, why they like. Yeah.
Yeah, well, we shall see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are more... Sorry?
I was going to say, should we move on to Zemo now, but do you have a final point?
Well, no, well, not really a final point. Like, the Flag Smashers and John Walker were more of, like, you know, the B plot of this episode, as in the main plot. Yeah. We have, Sam and Bucky going to see Zemo, who Bucky ends up breaking out of jail. And right off the bat, I really loved Zemo's reintroduction to the story, and I'll just say right now, best part of the episode was Zemo. I'm someone who in Civil War, like, because I've heard conflicting things about Zemo, like what people think about him. I personally really like Zemo in Civil War. I honestly think that, like, he was around the time where, like, the Marvel villains were starting to get really good, and although at the time he was just a guy, I felt like that was, like, you know, I felt like that was really good and, like, fit in really well with the plot of Civil War. I really liked Zemo in that movie, and here we actually get to delve more into him and see, you know, him. Although he's still very, very different from comic Civil War. Comic Zemo. While he's very different from comic Zemo, he's getting a little bit more of those traits of comic Zemo, like, you know, especially with him being, like, you know, royalty, and, you know, he's got like the comic outfit, which is great. It's Wait,
you were rich this whole time? I'm a baron.
Yeah, it's like, I'm a baron, of course I'm rich. Yeah, he had some of the...
I love Daniel Brawl, though. I just fucking love Daniel Brawl.
Daniel Brawl in this episode is so fucking good. I love when they're in the bar and he just starts dancing. Like, he's so good. Yeah, just dancing Zemo in the bar. I love when he gets near the end of the episode when he gets the car and he's just, like, supercharged, and I'm like... Yeah, he's one of the best part of the episode so far. Just one of the best parts. Yeah.
Also, because I was thinking, like, when Sharon had her party, is like, Zemo's probably the one who is the most comfortable in this, like, hoi polloi group, and he's the one dancing the dorkiest.
Yeah, it's...
I mean, it's like one of those things. Do you think they actually specifically directed Daniel to dance that way, or they just said, just dance?
just dance. Like, I'm just thinking, like, that's just something he's doing off the top. He's like, just like have this, like, you know, just dance however you want to. Just did it that way. It's I like, me and my brother, when we were watching that episode, we were just cracking up at that.
Bless him.
Yeah, I really hope they don't kill him by the end of the series. I don't think they will. I could be wrong about that, but, you know, I don't think they will, but I just hope they don't kill him, because, like I keep saying, like, I was saying this about Agatha in WandaVision, but they need to build up a rogues gallery in the MCU, and I
agree.
Yeah, and I feel like...
I agree with you.
Yeah, I feel like Zemo would be the perfect leader of either the Dark Avengers or Thunderbolts. Likely Thunderbolts, if they're going to go with Zemo as the leader. If they're going to go with Dark Avengers, I can very well see them bringing in Norman Osborn. But for a villain team, Zemo is definitely, like, you know, someone they could use as a leader.
Because he's quite charismatic as well. I don't know how much of it is because I haven't read any of the comics that Zemo's in. So is he, like, handsome and charismatic in the comics? Or in
the comics, and I haven't read much Zemo stuff from the comics either, but I am familiar with him from, like, other material as well, such as Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes, which is a fantastic show, by the way. Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes is a top tier show. It's all on Disney Plus. Go watch it. So good. Essentially, it's what's funny is that, you know, because in the MCU, Zemo is, like, so anti-super soldier, and, like, you know, he killed a Hydra agent. Like, he's obviously anti-Hydra. Yeah. What's funny is that he's one of the most prominent Hydra villains in the comics. And essentially what it was is, I believe he was around during during World War II time. He was around the same time as Red Skull. And the purple sock, essentially, what happened there was, I believe he got burnt onto his flesh.
I heard something about a weird glue.
A weird glue. Well, from what happened in Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes, because they showed the backstory there. Essentially, like, some kind of acid, like, dropped onto him, and, like, the mask got permanently, like, stuck to his face. So And yeah, but
That's
he's
creepy.
Yeah, it is very creepy. Yeah, and it's they definitely depicted it like very painfully. But it's but essentially like yeah, he's very charismatic there. Like he's of royalty, and he's very much like, you know, a charismatic leader in the comics. And in his other depictions as well. So the fact that they're honing more into that here, I'm liking that a lot.
I hope they don't do that to Zemo here, like make Perma fix the mask on.
Perma-fix, yeah, because it would be fun to just, you know, see Daniel Bruhl's face. They've already changed so much about Zemo here that I feel like, you know, at this point we're close enough to his aesthetic. Like, you know, we don't need to burn the mask on.
Yeah, I like the fact that you had kind of a fake out where, like, oh, is he about to like just make his escape and leave them? But no, he doesn't. He's still with them, like right up until the last moments, which I'm sure we'll get to. But yeah,
I thought for sure in that
with them and doing that.
I thought for sure at that moment he was gone. Like I thought, like in that moment he was like, you know, all right, peace, I'm out of here. I'm doing my own thing now. But nah, he's sticking with them, which I'm surprised by. Probably won't be for long. Probably will ditch from them in like episode 4. I'm happy that we're going to see more of them because like I am liking this dynamic so far.
Yeah. And yeah. So how many? Because obviously he speaks German because Daniel Bruhl's German, and someone else said, "Oh, I wish we'd seen more of Daniel Bruhl." I said, I don't know how big the German film industry is. I mean, it's fairly big because they've got a lot of their own stuff going on right from back in the day. But 2. He might be doing like a couple of American movies and then the rest in German. I don't know. So maybe he has got a huge archive of stuff. We just don't understand most of it. Yeah. But hang on, sorry, processing the brain thought. Yeah, just generally with him, and everything. And no, it went away. So I was
Trust me, I have those moments all the fucking time. You don't have to apologize for that. I have those moments all the fucking time.
So I'm gonna make my shallow comment because one of the things that I really like is black on black. So thank you to whoever put Sebastian Stan in a black tunic and in a black jacket on top. Because damn. Yeah. I don't even actively fancy Sebastian Stan. I appreciate him as a handsome man, but holy crap, that was good.
I love just Sam going like, seriously, am I the only one here who has to look like a pimp?
Only an American would think that.
Yeah, only an American would think that.
Do you think because again, this is something that came up with Jesse. So when they're in the meeting with the lady underneath the bar, Jesse pointed out that the call with Sarah, Sam would have turned his phone off. Do you think that was like an unnecessary plot point just to get you out of the room again?
It's... I don't know. So sorry, what's the point there?
That they were actually doing okay up until the point that Sarah called Sam, and he was almost letting it out.
Yeah, because Sorry, finish.
The point was made was that the point was made was Sam would have turned his phone off.
I don't know. I feel like I feel like that was maybe a little contrived, maybe a little bit. Or it's like, why don't you just like say, well, why didn't you just say like, oh, I'm sorry, you know, let me just turn that off.
Call you back.
Or you know, I'll just call him back. You know, we'll turn his phone off. I feel like the fact that he just slowly pulled out his phone and she's like, you know, like answer it on speaker. You know, maybe a better way to handle it was if you just say like, oh, let me call them back, and then she said, no, I want you to call it. Maybe a little contrived, but I don't know. I wasn't really thinking about it.
No, that's cool. And then so again, going back to John Wick, they're suddenly enemy number 1, and you get the thing where all the assassins get the text. It didn't occur to me until afterwards. Were they getting paid in Bitcoin? Because I didn't recognise the currency symbol, but I do remember it being a B. I don't know if was it.
I don't know the symbol for Bitcoin, so I couldn't be able to answer.
But was it Magipur, the place they went to? Is it their own currency?
Something like that, yeah.
I don't know. Just like I thought about it afterwards. Like, is that Bitcoin?
It's. Yeah, I definitely I definitely took note of like the people like filming that. I really hope Zemo wasn't in that footage of like of the Winter Soldier just beating the crap out of people, because at that point that would just be more evidence for John and Battlestar to like, you know.
True that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm really hoping Zemo wasn't in that footage. I feel like that'll probably be something that comes up in the next few episodes. We'll have to see where that goes, especially if by the end of the series Sam is supposed to take up the mantle. But we shall definitely see. But yeah, I definitely like the structure of this episode. How you know, despite the fact that it was very info dumpy, I definitely like the structure of like, you know, we're gonna work our way up, you know, so we're gonna go to this person I know who would know something about the information, and then we'll gradually work our way up to gain more and more information about this. I do love when they go to the person who actually made the super soldier serum, the new one, which, by the way, we did it. Like, after all these fucking scientists making failed attempts at the super soldier serum, like the fucking one that turns Bruce Banner into the Hulk, or the one where like, hey, it made them strong, but now they're out of control and they can't control them. After all these fucking failed attempts, we finally made a working super soldier serum that's actually even better than the one that Steve took. Hooray! And Zemo shoots him right. Zemo shoots him right in the fucking head.
Yeah, because it's like.
And I do love that. I do love that he did that. It's not like anything like, you know, real big or like strategical he's doing. It's just that he just shot him in the head because it's like, yeah, I hate super soldiers and I'm not letting you like make any more of this shit. Bam, dead. Bye bye.
I did have a thought as the lab was exploding. We don't know what chemicals they were working on. Is there going to be like side effects? Like, are they going to get an effect that from whatever the doctor was working on is going to affect the boys at some point?
Maybe not, but look, you never know with these shows.
Yeah.
And I've definitely missed stuff in the past, so who knows?
Yeah. I do like what he was saying, because, again, I watched a couple of reviews and they were saying, like, he seems to love his serum, but the point about it being subtle, like, no, it doesn't jack you up. Yeah. And, sorry, I know this is a completely separate point, but it's kind of tangential. What would happen if you mix the super soldier serum with Extremis? Because Extremis is still out there, isn't it?
I think I gotta double check on that. I think it's still out there.
Yeah. So that's a thing. But yeah. So Sharon.
Yes, Sharon. Sharon was the next point. Sharon was the next point I wanted to touch on. Aside from the fact that this is still like, you know, now I'm the one who's losing train of thought, so my mind's just still on Extremis. No, aside from the fact that this is also an info dumpy episode, so I think it's a little less interesting than the other two. I also had a bit of confusion regarding Sharon, because it's like... Yeah. Because the thing about Sharon is that I don't think her entire thing in this episode exactly makes sense. Like, I get it, she's been on the run for a lot of years, and, you know, and she's just had a lot of... She's gone through a lot of shit, and, you know, and she's had to go completely off the grid, and, you know, live underground, like, just live in another country, live in the underground. But it's like, she also, like, has this grudge against, like, you know, Sam and Bucky, and this whole thing of, like, you know, oh, the whole hero shit is bullshit. And I'm like, she holds a grudge against them because it's like, you know, oh, I was the one who, like, you know, who stole the shield and wings for your ass. And it's like, yeah, bitch, you did that of your own accord. I don't even remember Steve really asking for your help for that. Like, you did that of your own accord, so why are you bitching about it now? It's like, I guess she's been through a lot of stuff, but it's at the same time, I feel like it's a little clunky. It's the only part, like, I think they've handled everything else really well. Like, I think they've handled John Walker fantastically, Zemo really well. The stuff with Sam and Bucky, just astoundingly. The Flag Smasher stuff has been pretty good. I still want to see a little bit more of, like, where it leads. The stuff with Sharon, I think, was a little bit clunky, where I'm like, it's just generally okay, but at the same time, I'm like, you're the one who did this of your own accord, and now you're bitching to them about it. It's like, I don't know how I feel about that. Don't know how I feel. I like the fact that she's more like, because she gets an entire action set piece in this episode,
which is awesome.
Yeah, it was really, really good. It was really good. And it was fun to see her, show off her skills in this episode, because we've known since Winter Soldier that, because she was Agent 13. We've seen since then that that she was able to be like, very. That she was supposedly like a really good agent, but we haven't really been able to see that. So getting to see that action set piece was really, really cool. At the same time, though, it's like, her motivation behind, like, not really motivation, but her still being begrudging against Sam and Bucky. I'm like,
until proven otherwise, I'm going to assume that she lived through the blip. Because I don't think she could have accrued everything she had and then disappeared for 5 years and then carried on.
Seraphim in our Discord server mentioned to me that if she was alive during the blip, then why didn't Steve just get her her past clean, like wiped clean, because he was able to go through it just fine. So. He brought up the question, why wasn't she able to just, her past be able to be wiped clean as well? To which I brought up, well, maybe she wasn't alive during the blip, and then when she came back, by that point, Steve was, in the battle, and then he went into the past, so nothing he could really do.
But we don't know if they had contact. Maybe he didn't know that she wasn't blipped. That's the only other counterpoint I can think of, is like, he didn't know.
She was alive during that entire time. And I do think that that's kind of questionable that within all those 5 years, they were able to track down Clint, and yet they wouldn't be able to track her down. So, I don't know. It definitely thinks, like, I know a lot of people are probably like, also like, so is she just not gonna bring up Steve and the fact that he's probably her uncle now? And I'm like, well, no, because within this timeline, he still probably wasn't, because when Steve went back in the past, that was like an alternate timeline then, and then he came back to this timeline to pass the shield on to Sam. That's at least the explanation that the Russos gave. So in this timeline, he's not her uncle.
Well, I kind of subscribe to the theory that time travelers have whatever they do has always happened. We just don't know about it yet. The example I give, how good is your modern Doctor Who knowledge?
Decent.
So Torchwood always happened. Like, because people say, well, how does Torchwood square with like the Pertwee eras and stuff like that with Unit and that? It's like, well, because until it happened, it didn't happen, but now it happened. So, there's a point where better example, Austin Powers, not the same thing.
Yeah.
But bear with me. If Austin hadn't gotten frozen, Liz Hurley would have grown up with him as Uncle Austin.
Yeah.
Their relationship is really skeezy.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. And it's like, that's why I've never been completely creeped out by the whole Sharon and Steve thing. It's still kind of like icky. It's still kind of icky because it's like, well, Steve just lived the rest of his life now with Peggy, and in that universe, Sharon would have been his niece. In this universe, she wouldn't have been. But even still, that's kind of, So it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, I don't think that should have been a thing in the first place, because it's like, that's like your old love interest niece. I don't think you should be doing that to begin with, but, Yeah. But yeah, Sharon in this episode was fine. She had a cool action set piece, and I generally, understand her point of view. But then also, there's a part of me that's just kind of like, it could have been handled a little bit better.
Also, she's definitely got her own thing going on, because when her bodyguard picked her up again, it's like, we got some things to talk about. Yeah,
so there's some things going on with her. We're definitely not done with her in this series, which I knew already wasn't going to... We weren't going to be done with her, but like, something's happening with her. We're just going to have to just see where that goes. So, yeah. But overall, I think those are actually like all the main big points, except for the ending, of course.
Except the end scene. Yeah.
So yeah, we go to the ending where I believe they're going to visit the place where Carly was, and like the person, like one of her loved ones, I forget who it was, but they passed away. So they're going to that place, and then
sorry.
Yeah.
Before I forget again, so because I was looking at the credits, and I think her name was Mama Kapoor, or something like that. But the name of the lady who played her was something like Victoria or something like that. But her surname was Falcon.
That's funny. What a little bit of a coinky dink.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of fun.
But yeah, so
they say it was TB because that happens in camps like that. You know, tuberculosis comes back.
But yeah, so Bucky says, I'm gonna go on a little bit of a walk, and he notices the little balls. I forget their name, but my brother picked up on it immediately, because I usually watch these episodes, like, the way I usually watch these episodes is I watch them 3 times before these videos. I watch them once by myself. I always like to watch these episodes first time by myself, second time with my brother, because my brother is always like, you know, because he's just as big of an MCU fan, so I always watch it with him.
Yeah.
So second time's with my brother, and then the third time I'm watching for notes. So it gives me 2 good times beforehand to, you know, properly experience the series. And I didn't notice what those balls were on my first time. My brother picked up immediately, and I was like, wow, you were quick on that. I feel like a dummy.
No, I didn't. I thought, because originally my initial thought was like, does Bucky suspect Zemo of doing like a reverse gingerbread trail?
I was initially thinking that like someone was like listening in on them, like maybe like John Walker or someone, but I didn't realize the ball design. And then he walks into the alleyway, and he's like, you know, was wondering when you were going to show up, and I forget her name. I know she has a name, but
Ayo. So that's what someone else said in the review, because she's like the second in command. Yeah.
Ayo pops up from Wakanda, and she's just like, I'm here for Zemo. End of the episode. And I feel like that's probably the best cliffhanger so far. You know, the first 2 cliffhangers were really good. You know, first one introducing John Walker's Captain America. Second one showing, hey, Zemo's back. You know, which were both like things that we knew, but that were, you know, things that we knew, but they were still exciting to see. It's like, oh, this is coming next time. Whereas this one is something we didn't know about, and it's like, yes, this is great. You know, they're bringing Wakanda into it because, you know, Zemo's on the loose.
Yeah, because my thought was like, because I was thinking about it afterwards, like, oh right, because he was in jail before, so they were cool with that. Now he's not in jail, so justice. So because that is actually set up when you think about it. Because Sam was going, you think Wakanda's happy about this? No, they're not. But
yeah, you know. It's great. I think I think that in general that was a really good cliffhanger to end on. It's yet another plot point to like add on to everything, but I feel like, you know, this series has been handling a lot of plot points really well so far, that I think that they could probably weave it in really nicely. So I can't wait to see how they handle that in episode 4. So that should be great.
What the other side thought I've just had is that this will be the first time we're dealing with Wakanda since Chadwick's death. So that's going to be interesting how they deal with that.
It seems like they haven't...
T'Challa?
It seems like that this was too early for them to have written around T'Challa potentially dying in universe. So I feel like we're not going to hear about that till Black Panther 2. So I feel like they're still going to go off the assumption that T'Challa's still alive. Or whatever they're doing with T'Challa, you know. We'll just have to see. We of course know that they're not recasting him, so that's probably going to mean that he's going to die. So, yeah. So we'll just have to see. You know, I'm hoping that
regardless of when it. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was going to say, regardless of yes, you're right. When it was scripted and written and planned out, this is still the first encounter with Wakanda since the end of Endgame, since Chadwick's death. So it's still kind of like in the back of people's brains, you know.
Yeah, that was at the back of my that was at the back of my mind in episode 2 when they when Sam was just like, oh, a few months in Wakanda and you came out as White Panther.
White Wolf, actually.
Huh? I love that response from Sam. But overall,
I have to say.
Oh yeah, so finish that point and then we'll go to overall.
No, it was actually a complete side point. One of my favourite side little note reactions of any character is still going back to your line about from Tony, anything special from you came out of Wall, and Steve's like, yeah, well, what? Take off the suit, and what are you? He's like, billionaire, philanthropist, playboy, genius, and you cut to Natalie just doing that little head nod thing. That is still one of my favourite little subtle reactions.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of funny there's a lot of funny shit there's little moments like that throughout the entire series. I love in Infinity War that reaction with Star-Lord and Tony, where it's like you're from Earth. No, I'm not from Earth. I'm from Missouri. That's on Earth, dipshit. And when it cuts back to Peter, he just has this really confused face, like what the fuck, like.
But from Quill's point of view, that's a test, because saying, "Oh, I'm from Missouri, not this specific place," only an Earthling human would know that Missouri is on Earth, you dipshit. Because if they're just saying, "Oh, you look like a human," "Oh, actually, no, I'm from this place." "Oh, okay, you're from this place, the planet Missouri." But that's how I read it. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so I just ran out of water, so I feel like this is the perfect point to say, overall, I really liked episode 3. Really liked episode 3. Feel like every Phasing Forward episode is just going to be me saying I really liked it, because there's not really many MCU stuff that I don't like, aside from, let's see, Incredible Hulk, Thor 2... That's about it, because even Far From Home, which I take issues with, I'm like, yeah, it's still a good movie. Like there's still overall like a pretty solid movie. Should I take issues with some of it? But I think the only ones that I'm like not too fond of are like Incredible Hulk and Thor 2, and not including like the Marvel television side of things, because if we're counting that, then like list of stuff I don't really like goes up. But that's a different topic for a different time.
And then there's the whole thing like, is it even canon anymore? Yeah, is this the only?
Yeah, I feel like even if they do canonize a lot of that stuff, Inhumans is gone. I feel like they're just like scrapping Inhumans, because
I never even watched it, so I'm like,
it's bad. It's so shit. But yeah, overall, episode 3 of Falcon and the Winter Soldier was really good. Again, probably my least favorite episode thus far, because it's very info dumpy. And the stuff with Sharon was kind of but otherwise, I really love the stuff with Zemo. The ending was such a good cliffhanger, and all the other stuff has just been consistent, abiding by the consistent quality we've been seeing up until now. It's great, fucking great.
Yeah.
What about you, Michelle?
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. Pretty much, like say the stuff with Sharon, the stuff with Walker, it was minimal. Interesting to see where they're going with them.
Yeah, I feel like I saw people saying, I want to see more of Walker. I feel like we'll be seeing more of him, like, if not next episode, then episode 5 for sure.
For the story told in this episode, we had just the right amount of Walker.
Yeah, like, because this episode was, like, a lot of, like, stuff that we just needed to get out there, about the Super Soldier Serum, about the Power Broker, about this, about that. So it was very crucial for all that stuff to be explained, and for Walker to just kind of have a background role. So we'll definitely be getting more of him.
Yeah.
But yeah, that does it for this episode for Phasing Forward, I guess. This one was probably the shortest one we've done in a while, till I want to say like one of the earlier WandaVision ones, which is good. It's good. If all the episodes going forward can be at this length, if not a little shorter, then that's good. But yeah, seeing
the not arguing helps.
Yeah, they're not going back and forth between theories and arguing definitely helps. But yeah, so see you again next week, Michelle.
Yeah, I mean, if you need me, yes. Obviously, still a little bit my ear, but yes, more than likely. Yeah.
But with that being said, guys, thanks for watching Phasing Forward, like always. I'm always happy to see, like, whenever a particular episode gets more views than another. Just the fact that people are watching this to begin with, it really warms my heart. Thank you all so much. But with that being, and like and subscribe to this and to Michelle's channel, which will be down in the description, and go over to Zen's channel, which is, which is mostly my new home at this point, but more stuff will be coming to this channel soon. But with that being said, guys, I'm Philip.
I'm Michelle.
And with that being said, we will both see you next week. So
Yes.
we'll catch you guys then. Bye bye.
TTFN.